The job that is going to take Hans Mattson farthest away from Minnesota is going to happen in 1881. President James A. Garfield is going to appoint him to be the Consul General of India. Now, a really weird story about that is on the day that Garfield appointed Mattson, he is going to be mortally wounded by an assassin. Mattson is probably a little bit worried about going. He's an older man now, and India is a very crowded and unhealthy place. But when your president asks you to do something, usually you end up doing it. Mattson had quite the journey to get to India. So when he left the United States, he first sailed to Liverpool, and he would visit London and Antwerp and Paris and Rome and Florence and Naples, and he'd even go to Pompeii and see Vesuvius. He would also go to Alexandria and Cairo in Egypt before sailing on the brand new Suez Canal, and eventually he would cross the Indian Ocean, and he would sail up the Ganges River to the city of Calcutta. So Calcutta is where the British had their government in India. The British ruled India, and India was the crown jewel of the British Empire. That's where they got most of their money from trading the cottons and silks and teas from India. So we're going to find out next what Mattson learned in that year and a half that he served in India. He did not bring his family with him because, again, he was worried about sickness and disease in the crowded subcontinent of India. So India seemed to be a pretty exotic place. Again, it was ruled by the British. It is estimated that while Mattson was there were probably 270 million people living in that country. 75% of them were peasant farmers with no education at all. They couldn't read and write. The status of women in India was extremely low, and that was something that kind of concerned Mattson. So he would write that women would often die because male doctors weren't allowed to touch them and treat them. So they would die of injuries and illnesses that were easily treatable. After about a year and a half of living in India, he decided it was time to come home, and he closes out the most far away part of his career in government. I'll add just one more thing here. So this is a picture of a snake charmer, and Mattson was often very entertained by the men that did this in the street. So sometimes they would use sleight of hand to produce these snakes seemingly out of thin air, and other times they would do what this man seems to be doing here, which is making the snake dance as he played his flute. Mattson could never figure out how they did their intricate works with these dangerous animals.